Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishing and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and Americool Heating and Cooling. It is Sunday, November 19th, and you guys just couldn't wait to get in the studio to talk about what you saw in Tenino over the last few days.
And Tumwater.
And also Tumwater.
But mostly Tenino.
First up, Onalaska and Kalama was a football game that occurred.
It happened.
It was 100%. A fun football game.
Ooh, we're going deep. We're going hard. Hot takes out of the gate.
I understand there was some preliminary bickering online, perhaps, about this game. Some takes were shared. Some thoughts were explicitly, explained.
And wildly enough, then people said, "Oh, we'll settle it on the football field," and then it was settled on the football field.
And did it live up to the hype?
Yeah.
A lot of points in this one.
Yeah.
Dylan has no comment.
There
wasn't a lot of points.
Dylan had
early.
Dylan had to write out the scoring summary, so he's not thrilled with.
That took a little bit.
The final score: Onalaska 60, number 4 Onalaska 60, number 5 Kalama 40.
Sadly, the over/under was set at 101.5. So
damn it,
we just needed another safety.
Kalama led 12-0. And then 20-14 at halftime. Onalaska won the third quarter by the score of 32-6. It's a lot of points in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And it was 32 unanswered as well. Kalama came out and got 6 out of the break.
Right. First drive.
And Ani scored 32 points in about 5.5 minutes of game time.
So they were throwing it all over the yard then, is what you're telling me?
They did not throw a pass.
Not a single pass. I love seeing that in the box score. Just, you know what?
Passing, none. Receiving, also none.
Just be true to yourself, man. Kayden Mozingo, Onalaska quarterback in quotes, I think is safe to say.
He's the guy that he does the handing off instead of getting the handoff.
Somebody's got to take the snap.
Yeah.
He didn't do a ton of that. He ran for 447 yards on how many carries? 30?
A lot.
30-ish?
The 447 was a school record.
He beat the old record. Ashton Haight had the old record. He beat it by about 100. Ballpark 100.
Yes.
Pretty good. And 5 touchdowns. It's pretty good. Rodriguez added a mere 154 yards and 3 touchdowns.
By the end, they were just scoring at will. This was old it's been like a year and a half since you've seen like old school Onalaska football. And 2 years ago, right, they like kind of hit the limit in the semifinals, but that was old school Kalama football. By the end of the game, they were like Mozingo was hitting the line of scrimmage and the line had moved up a good 2 or 3 yards by the time he hit it because the offensive linemen were just in the second level pretty much.
Mm-hmm. We have one comment of the week from this game from Maz, but you have more from Maz, correct?
Yeah.
I want to hear the whole thing.
You want to hear the whole thing?
Leading up to this, I will read it if you want. I'll pull it up on Slack because you shared it on Slack.
I don't think I have that much breath in me.
Give me a quick summary of the lead up to the game.
So the lead up to the game was that Kalama beat Onalaska in the regular season, and they went 3-0, and that was all it took to win the South Division because you only need to play 3 games in the South Division, which is a whole other story. And when the seeds came out, the committee put Onalaska over Kalama. And not only did they put Onalaska over Kalama, but that was the split between who gets a first round bye and who didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Kalama played a first round game against Friday Harbor, and yeah, and like I put in my column, like no slight to Friday Harbor, but everybody knew how this was going to go.
You did write a nice column about this.
Thank you. Oh, you read it?
I did, yeah.
Oh. But that was just setting this up. And Maz had a great quote that didn't even end up in the story that was like, we would have been 100% being the 5 because we would have just dominated Friday Harbor and come into this game the same. His quote was, you could have made us the 6 and Kalama the 3, and we would have found a way to find them anyway. They wanted this game really badly.
And so after the game, you posted the full comment from Maz, and there's a lot to it.
Maz promised, and the other lead up before the game was that obviously Maz was very professional because Maz says a lot, but he's very good about what he says, and he thinks about what he says.
He's a thoughtful fella.
And like there is kind of this perception of him as a gunslinger quote of whatever, like saying whatever's on his mind
I've
with
seen
no
their
filter.
stat lines. I would say he's the opposite of a gunslinger.
Okay,
as
but
far
like
as play calling goes.
as not having a filter or whatever, and he really does like focus on the game going forward and keeps it lit under it. And he also told me if we win, I'm going to have some things to say. So I talked to him with Dylan, and then Dylan went off to talk to Kayden Mozingo, who, broke the school rushing record. And I just was like, yeah, you said you had some things to say. And he
said,
let him cook.
Quote from Maz, I think the committee, the WIA 2B committee, is a group of guys that are pretty selfless. I really do. I think those are guys that take time away from their families to be part of a committee, and I don't think that there is any collusion or any of that stuff that's been insinuated by some people. I think those guys care about football in the state of Washington. I think they want to protect the game of football. I know every person on that committee, and I think every coach should know them, and I think we should have ambassadors for the game of football. I think those are our ambassadors around the state. So far, here's game one. It's turned out okay. We'll see how tomorrow turns out. But those guys do a lot of work, and for them to have to take that heat, that's sad, man. That's sad. Those are guys that are ambassadors for the game of football. For guys to come after them, that's not good. We want to protect this game. I believe this. I know baseball is America's pastime, but I believe this is the greatest game in the world. I believe that every young kid should play this game, and it's the last bastion of manhood. And to attack people who are trying to do what's best for kids in the state of Washington, that's nuts to me. That is a quote from Kevin Costner, Maz and Sadi, after Onalaska's win over Kalama Friday night in Tenino.
Yeah. And I mean, they got that seed because people thought they were the better team, and then they went out and proved it. That was what my column was about. They did exactly what you would expect the 4 seed to do against the 5 seed in a tournament.
Yeah.
The other great quote from Maz was, because obviously, this was in the column, the most poetic thing ever was that Kayden Mozingo wears number 4. So Maz said something along the lines of, that's a pretty good number. Number 4 was out there running all over the place.
That's a good number.
Number 4, running all over the place in Tenino.
Yeah. Very good win for the Loggers.
And real quick, I know we talked about just how quickly, or that 32-point swing in the third quarter. This is how quickly it kind of just shifted. So Kalama comes out, gets 6 out of the half, extends their lead to 26-14. Mozingo, 74-yard touchdown run. First play of Kalama's next drive, Case McGraw comes down with a pick. Very next play, Mozingo, another 70+. Or that might have been his 53-yarder, which
where he
I don't
ran
know how
over a guy.
He said his O-lineman kind of picked him up as he was falling, and it was one where I looked down and started writing down where he got tackled, and I looked up and he was somehow still running. Anyways, that gave them the lead. Next play, Sam Pancook comes away with an interception, and then 4 plays later, Rodrigo Rodriguez breaks like a 35-yarder. Mm-hmm. So that's 7 plays. All of a sudden, you go from down 12 to up 12, and that really felt like it. It just, the tone in the entire stadium just shifted over, and at that point, they knew that they were going to do whatever they wanted, and they did.
Yeah.
All right. What did Mozingo have to say afterwards?
Just all the credit to his O-line, and he kind of just talked about how they have so much. I mean, throughout the course of the season, it's mostly been him and Rodrigo getting the bulk of the yardage and the touchdowns, but they got Nick Rushton, Blaze Underhill. He just kind of was quick to credit his O-line while also saying, when you have this much talent in the backfield, it gives defenses a lot to worry about. Things we already knew, but it was nice to hear him say it as well.
Well, and they really just cleaned up the little things for the most part. And that was something that I was just talking to Maz for next week's preview. And he was like, as a football coach, it's kind of like being a teacher. You have to convince a bunch of 14 to 17-year-olds that they have to care about the little things all the time. And that's hard. But on that first half, they got flagged. I didn't count, but I think there was a point where they got called on 6 straight plays where they took over possessions, either turnovers on downs or getting punts or getting kickoffs. They got called for unsportsmanlike they got called for unsportsmanlike on 4 straight kickoffs. Yeah. They could not block or blocks in the back. They had a fake punt go wrong. They had their backup, who is Kayden Mozingo, their backup punter shanked a punt that set up. Kalama's first 2 touchdowns went on a total of 20 yards because their first one was a 20-yard field, and their second one, I think, was also a 20-yard field.
It was a fake punt and then a shanked punt.
Yeah. They just basically gifted 2 touchdowns. And in the second half, they cleaned that up, and they played their best half of football. And, it was impressive going forward.
Okay. And with that win, they get to play some pushover from just south of Chehalis, I understand.
Yeah. The wrong side of the freeway, I guess you could say.
They will play Napavine.
For some reason, if you're in Onalaska and you go on 508, some people go past the freeway.
No, that doesn't sound right. They will play Napavine. Napavine on Saturday played something called Riverview.
They
blew
looked
them
at a
out
river.
43-14. It was close early on, 6-0 after just a quarter, and then it was 36-0 at halftime.
That's what Napavine does to you.
Napavine's starters gained 384 yards on 26 plays. Pretty good. And got pulled to drive into the third quarter.
I didn't have Ashton Demarest line on there. He went 10 for 12. All 10 of his passes went at least 10 yards.
Pretty good. Napavine. Are we sure they're still the number
good.
one?
This was the best I've seen Napavine play. And Riverview, they're a state team. They're a 100%. They deserve to be where they were at. And yeah, they just had absolutely nothing to do. The only thing that stopped Napavine was they got called for 7 penalties, and Josh Fay wasn't thrilled about that. But, geez, it was just complete dominance. Basically, whenever Napavine wanted to, they got 15 yards pretty much. And the one thing that was really kind of missing from this team when they played them, we'll talk about the first time they played Onalaska, was out of that downfield passing game. And Ashton Demarest had, it wasn't, there were a couple screen passes that turned into big gains, but he was going over the top and hitting people. I think he hit Colin Shields for a 47-yard, either Colin Shields or Kel Kelly, one of the two. They had just 20-yard routes that were wide open. Their run game did decent, and Riverview sold out to stop the run and couldn't. And then they would just go into the playbook and pull out a pass play and get 30 easy yards. It was very comprehensive. The biggest drama was the fact that they were also hitting hard on defense, and a couple of Riverview kids got hurt, and the entire town of Riverview was yelling at Napavine for not kneeling, which sparked some controversy.
I did see a few comments about that online.
They weren't respectful.
Right?
They weren't respectful enough while they were winning 43-0.
It wasn't even a running clock game.
They didn't play with.
Yes,
was it a running clock?
Yeah, they
it was eventually.
And,
okay.
and that was the other drama, was that they were up 36-0 at halftime. They scored they took the opening kick in the third quarter back 77 yards, and then Kale Stanley ran in a 20-yard touchdown or whatever. And then they onside kicked to get the ball back, so that because the clock was going to start running, they were like, if we give them the ball, our backups just won't ever see the ball until the fourth quarter. So they onside kicked. They pulled the starters after recovering the onside kick, and then Josh Fay called a timeout, and then he sent his backups in there, and people were like, "You're onside." So I saw somebody on Twitter who was mad that they were onsiding up 43. Which, first of all, this is 2B football. They're all onside kicks.
Yeah,
but I'm sure it was just he wanted the backups to get some time with the ball, because once the clock starts running, there's 10 plays left in the game pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Meanwhile, over in Spokane, Toledo lost to Northwest Christian 41-0. Toledo gained 271 yards but turned the ball over 3 times. This is the second year in a row the Riverhawks have lost to an Eastern Washington team in the quarterfinals. Who did they lose to last year?
Chewelah.
Oh, dear sweet Chewelah. Toledo finishes the year at 9-3. Did they overachieve, underachieve, or do what everybody expected?
You tell me.
I don't know, making the...
It was 10-0 at halftime. It kind of just got out of hand late.
Making the state quarterfinals. I think that's
Toledo.
I don't know. All right. They got there.
They got there.
They had a good season.
They had a good season, and they're going to bring some guys back. This is going to be the first time in Mike Christensen's entire tenure that he's going to return his starting quarterback.
Wow.
So I know they're excited for that. Yeah, this was Toledo. They're going to finish second in their division, or third in their division. They're not Napavine. They're going to go surprise an Eastern Washington team in the first round, and then put up a fight in the second. And yeah, this was the Toledo season.
And so this sets up at noon on Tumwater on Saturday, 2 days after Thanksgiving. Saturday, right?
Saturday. Hallowed ground of Sid Otten Field.
Napavine versus Onalaska. Napavine won their first meeting 58-14 on September 8th. Can Onalaska, do a little better this time? What are the keys to the game? What do you guys think is going to happen? Give me your takes.
I think Napavine is the huge favorite, and everybody knows this. I think the thing that is...
Well, not that one guy from Grays Harbor that was tweeting, and he was like, as I suspected, Napavine is the number 1 seed. Like,
yeah. Take. Yeah, the conspiracy to get Napavine number 1.
Yes. Anyway, setting that aside.
The key is whether... The one thing Riverview did really well for a quarter was they shortened the game. Napavine scored every single possession its starters were in. They just only got the ball once in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. Like, Riverview took a good 5 minutes off the clock, threw a pick, Napavine scored. Riverview got it back with like 7 minutes left, and then took those 7 minutes off the clock. And that is kind of what Onalaska can do. And if you look at what happened last time they played, I mean, Napavine won 58-14, but Ani was up. I think it was 14-8 after a quarter. And that is the sort of thing that Ani can do, incredibly enough, is take time off the clock and kind of take the air out of the ball. The only way to beat Napavine is to beat them slowly, and that will be the key, whether Ani can hold the ball, suck the clock, and then it's whether they can finish. That was the thing that Maz said, and everybody knows about Napavine, is there's going to be the surge, right? Like, Napavine is going to turn a 6-0 game into a 36-0 game in the span of 5 minutes if you let them. And that's what happened in the third quarter the last time they played. Ani finished the Kalama game better than I've seen them ever finish a game. And if they can both do a first quarter like they did against Onalaska and do a second half like they did against Kalama, maybe?
Okay.
I'm trying to... You can sort of talk yourself into thinking it could happen. What do you think, Colin?
I need to see a little bit more out of the Ani defense, at the risk of sounding super obvious, but even Kalama game...
They did give up 40 points.
Yeah.
It's a lot of points.
Yeah, if you could... It'll take a little more against Napavine, but like Kalama, your defense forces 2 turnovers, they turn into quick points, that game is over. That's not how it's going to go against Napavine, a team that is obviously a much higher caliber team than Kalama, especially on offense. But if you could... Yeah, I'm just kind of echoing your point. Limit possessions, and can you just make a play or two? If it's 14-8, did they force any turnovers in that first game?
They had a safety on a punt snap that went over their head into the end zone. That was the thing. They scored a safety and then got the ball back and then got a touchdown of it. I think maybe it was like 9-7 or something. It's that sort of thing. Yeah. And on the flip side, as I said, this was the best offensive showing I've seen out of Napavine, period. Like, even going back to last year, they did absolutely everything they wanted. And if they play like that, then no, there's no chance for Onalaska. They're not going to, if they play their A+ game, then no. But if Nani can force them into those mistakes, get to the quarterback, force some hurried throws, maybe get an interception or 2, that's going to be kind of their thing. And keep the offense off the field. That's really the biggest thing.
Say you were taking a friend of yours that hasn't seen either team play before to this game, and you were pointing out players they should watch. What would you tell them?
Number 4 and number 6 in purple, or white, depending on what they wear.
Probably white.
Who are those guys, and why are they good?
Kayden Mozingo and Rodrigo Rodriguez combined for nearly 600 yards on Saturday.
And the rest of the team combined for
20-something.
Really, that many? Yeah,
ish.
And then, for Napavine, it's the receivers, who are also the DBs. James Gross had a pick and a couple big catches. Ashton Demarest actually had a pick to go along with it. That was the Riverview sold out to stop Cale Stanley, and Ashton Demarest just pulled every single ball and ran it. And he didn't get a ton, but he opened that up. And then I think it's the defensive line for Napavine, because they play bigger than they are, and if they can stop, and the offensive line, because it's the same people, if they can give Onalaska time, or if they can give Demarest time, then he's going to just dice you. So it's going to be one up front, as usual.
Right. The other semifinal game will be Northwest Christian versus number 2 Okanagan, which beat Goldendale 38-0 to reach the core semifinals. 2 Eastside teams in the semis, one of which got here without having to play a D4 team, while Onalaska just played one D4 team and now has to play a second. Is this good or dumb, and why is it dumb? I don't love it.
No, I don't think anybody loves
also
it.
This
don't
is the
love
whole
it.
reason. Yeah, part of the reason you have a seating committee is to look at the bracket and how it could play out and say like, well, we can eliminate things like this.
On
want
one
the
hand-
human element in there.
Coming from, when I was in California, they did this. There was a Northern California tournament and a Southern California tournament, and then basically the winners played each other. In theory, having the best team in Eastern Washington play the best team in Western Washington makes sense. In practice, 3 of the 4 teams in the state live in Western Washington, and you'll obviously have to wait until the championship game to see how they stack up. But no, Onalaska should be not having to play Napavine, and Kalama probably shouldn't have had to play Onalaska. Let's be honest. Like, we could have spread
I
this
just
out
think
better.
there was probably alternate options available to avoid this kind of thing. But again, you have Napavine, Onalaska, Toledo, and Kalama all in the final 8. You're going to have, unless you do it just perfectly, you're probably going to run into something like this.
Definitely, but I think, 2 years ago, Ani played Kalama and then Napavine played Okanagan. And I think that was the year coming out of COVID. The year before COVID, it was all D4 teams, right? Ani, Kalama, Napavine, Adna.
Yes.
And I think that the selection committee, which does have
seating
committee, sorry. It's back-to-back years where they've had it set up so that can't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think Okanagan played Onalaska in the semifinals last year, but didn't have to play anybody to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that Okanagan team versus that Onalaska team was going to happen. It was going to be a blowout, and it was. Yeah, I think that they have definitely tried to set it up to have balance in the results instead of equity at the beginning.
Yeah. That being said, it's not a bad bracket.
It's fine.
You got the 1, 2, 3, and 4.
The one controversy
has been solved.
Yeah, it got settled.
Yeah.
This podcast brought to you by Global Septic, providing septic service and sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. Septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation are services they offer, as well as commercial septic pumping, grease trap services. You never know when you're going to need those. They will rent you a porta potty and a sink to go with it. Visit globalseptic.com. That's GOEBEL septic.com, or give them a call, 360-736-2167.
When you need to go Bell.
That's right. On to the 2A bracket, Tumwater beat Clarkston 42-6 in the quarterfinals. They led 21-0 after a quarter and 42-0 at halftime, which meant the entire second half was a running clock. The T-Birds came away with 4 interceptions just in the second quarter?
4 interceptions in a 5-drive span.
Stop throwing the ball, man. What are we doing? Peyton Davis ran for 174 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 10 carries. Tumwater will face number 4 North Kitsap in the semifinals in week 2. Tumwater handed the Vikings their first home loss since 2019 in a 34-14 win. In that game, Ethan Kastner was 10 for 10 with 146 yards and 4 passing touchdowns.
And they're playing North Kitsap because North Kitsap won an absolute banger of a game over Linden.
In overtime.
Oh, Linden's out. Interesting.
Yeah.
North Kitsap scored first, missed their extra point, and then I want to say forced a turnover on 1st and goal because 7 would have obviously ended it. But yeah, that was a much better game than what
So we're not
happened in
getting the Tumwater-Linden game that kind of probably everybody wanted, but...
The We Want Linden chants were loud and proud at the end of the
were
Tumwater
they?
game. They were.
So sad you shall not get them.
Well.
But yeah, it's Tumwater. They were just a better team. The score speaks for itself. The stats speak for themselves. Those 4 interceptions were pretty cool. It didn't swing the game.
The game had been swung.
The game had already kind of been determined at that point, not like Ani Kalama. But it was just really cool to see, Josh, you talked to William Garrow going in kind of at the end of your preview. You mentioned he said he hopes these guys get a chance to make plays because he knows they can. They just don't always get the chance because of the nature of a lot of the teams they play in the FCO. And they went out there and they just made plays.
Who's it? Malroy got one. David Malroy got one. Derek Thompson probably got one.
Mm-hmm. Beckett Wall actually
linebacker, sophomore.
Yeah, I was hyping up the secondary, but the linebacker snuffed out a running back screen, got his paw on it, and then came down with it. And I can't remember the 4. I want to say Cash Short came down with one. I think he might have come down with the first one. And all those just quicked into turn. Just like for Ani, they just immediately turned into points. And
it's cool to see Peyton Davis have a big game. Usually he's kind of one of the, we've talked, they have 6 guys, and he's usually kind of down the rotation a little bit, but that's the thing when you have 6 guys, somebody's going to go off, and usually it's, Cooper Clark or Jalen Nixon or Logan Cole, and Peyton Davis is kind of, I think he's the only senior out of that group too. Or no, disregard that. That's completely wrong. But anyway, it's cool for him to have a good game.
I think either 9 or 10 Thunderbirds got a carry, which isn't unusual, but it's the first Tumwater game I've covered, and on our stat sheet, I ran out of lines.
Also, and this is the hot take, Tumwater's number system is terrible. So you have to, because all the guys that carry it are like 47 or 35. And
Shout out number 81, the linebacker, Beckett Wall, coming down with an interception.
They're even though they're technically eligible numbers, but they get a carry, and it's like, why is their punter carrying the ball? Like, they have one of their backs is 15. That's a good number. I think somebody's 28. That's okay. And then you get into the
32.
The 30s and the 40s. It's just get better numbers, man.
All right. Who are the other 2 semifinal teams in the 2As?
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
I'll pull it up.
I would tell
Anna
you.
Cordes was playing somebody.
Oh.
I don't know if they won.
Whoever gets to it first.
Go brackets. A lot of dead space.
It is Enumclaw versus Anacortes.
Oh, okay.
Enumclaw beat Highline, the team that beat WF West, 41-30. That's actually a pretty good game.
Yeah, they got the 1, 2, 3, 4 in there too.
And Anacortes beat. They got 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah.
Anacortes blanked Ording 42
to nothing. So we were talking last week about all the blowouts. Were there 8 teams? No, there were 6 good teams. We had 2 blowouts and 2 close games.
Yeah, the 2Bs and the 2As both have the 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds still alive.
I think the 1As do too.
The 1As, no.
Nia Bay won.
The 1As, I mean.
Oh, 1As, sorry.
1As got number 1 Royal playing number 12 Seton Catholic. What?
Oh, Seton Catholic. It's first state appearance for Seton Catholic ever, and I saw that, they
beat Kashmir.
They upset their first round, and then they beat Kashmir. Good for them.
Yeah, they've taken down Kings and Kashmir. You're on notice, Royal. I mean, Kings, Kashmir, and Royal, that's just like, what a line.
Yeah. The 1As are wonderful. And then, the 1Bs are 1, 2, 3, 5.
What are the 3As looking like? Just out of curiosity. The 3As got a 1, 2,
Who is
6. Yelman Eastside Catholic, that'll be good.
In a semifinal?
Yeah.
Rematch of the state title game last year.
Yeah. And then Bellevue is the 6th seed crashing. And in the 4As...
1, 2, 4, 1
Graham Kapowson won. Yeah.
Lake Stevens is 2, East Lake is 4, and Kamiakin? I've lived here for 4 years, and I don't know. They're 6.
They were the 1 last year, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I only know that because Emerald Ridge upset them in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, your Emerald Ridge did not do so hot this year.
They made state. You know what? They won 2 games a year when I was there. So
didn't they lose on a Philly?
low bar.
They lost to Kamiakin on a Philly special in overtime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ball
it's
out.
a low bar, though. At least it was when I was there. I'm sure it's higher now. But go Jags.
This podcast brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center. Did you guys know you can visit their website, apply for a Synchrony home credit card, and get a free $100 Visa prepaid card by mail?
Oh, hell yeah.
I think that's something you'd both be interested in.
I could always use a free $100 Visa gift. Christmas season is coming up. If anybody wants to give me a $100 prepaid Visa gift card, I will take it and be like, why couldn't you have just Venmoed me? This depreciates in value.
Stop. God damn it. Anyway, if you need new home furnishings for the living room, bedroom, dining room, your entertainment room, maybe some accents, or your office, visit Elam's Home Furnishings and Sleep Center at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia, or check them out online, elamshf.com. That's ELAMSHF.com. Moving on to the 1Bs. Mossyrock passes its first real test of the season and beats Elmira Cooley Heartline 46-30.
Not bad when you have to take on 3 schools at once.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Mossyrock, you could make the argument there. What's the sunken town? Cosmos? I can't remember.
That's the town
there's
out
a
in the
town
harbor.
under the lake
Oh, okay.
out there. I don't think it's there anymore. Well, obviously not.
Well,
The Vikings trailed 30-22 going into the fourth quarter and rattled off 3 unanswered touchdowns to end it. Easton Kolb had 157 rushing yards, 105 passing yards, and scored 6 total touchdowns. 5 of those were on the ground. He also came down with an interception on defense and recovered an onside kick.
Not a whole lot of players playing an 8-man, so you're going to have stat lines like that.
Yeah. And then Charlie Edgar recovered a fumble and had an interception.
Yeah. They had not played a close game, and this was ACH took the lead in the first quarter, and head coach Eric Olikainen kind of gathered everybody up, and you could hear him on the sideline. He was like, "Yep, they're here for a reason, and this is what state's going to be like, guys." And last year they kind of got into one of those games because they were coming off the bye, and they took that first one and folded pretty much. They had just a tough time, and this time they punched back, and they had a huge run in the second quarter. They went ahead at halftime because they got a pick. Easton Kolb got that interception. 2 plays later, he was running in for a touchdown. Then he recovered the onside kick, and then he scored another touchdown. And I don't remember what the halftime score was, but I think they were up by a touchdown. And then ACH came back, and they went on a 16-0 run, I think, in the third quarter. And it was just back and forth, and it was a really good showing. And yeah, good for Mossyrock. First state win in a long time. First 8-man state win in a very long time. First semifinal appearance. I actually know this one since
2002?
1999.
It's close.
Yeah, it's close enough.
That would have been, God, who was on that team?
Somebody who was born before I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good time for Mossyrock. I will say also that this was out in Tenino in the daylight. The photos were very nice. Shout out Mossyrock and ACH both wear black and red, so it was a team wearing red and black versus a team wearing white and red and black, which looked a lot better on Tenino's black and red turf than purple and gold versus black and orange.
The Onalaska photos were so purple. so purple. I don't know if Carlo just cranked up the saturation.
I mean, you know that he did.
He might have, yeah. Anyway, Mossyrock will play Wilbur Creston Keller at noon in Moses Lake on Saturday. WCK beat Nacelle 98-44 in their quarterfinal. Is that Andrew WCK?
I don't know, but 98 is a lot of points.
That is too many
But it's
points,
not-
I was there. But also, if you got 98, just get 100. Come on.
Yeah.
Cowards.
I mean, if you
Couldn't have got one more 2-point in there.
Yeah.
they almost covered the Kalama spread by the over under by themselves.
I would say they should have gone for 2 more, but nobody's kicking field goals in 8-man, are they?
You got to send someone out there at that point. It's a 54-point game. Easton, you got a leg on
That
your
was the thing. That was the thing.
Try it out, man.
That was the thing about the Napavine win was that it was 36-0 at halftime, and they scored one more touchdown to get to the running clock. And before they pulled the starters, they kicked the extra point just for the hell of it, just to prove that they could. And then they sent the backups in. But yeah, that's a whole lot. Imagine scoring 44 and then losing by 54.
Yeah.
There was a guy from Cairo at the Ani Kalama game, and he filmed the touchdown, and then we were just chatting, and then he kind of looked up and he was like, "Oh, they're going for 2." And after he was done recording, I was like, "Yeah, there's no kickers down here.
He was back.
Nobody's kicking anything."
He was back out there for the Mossyrock ACH game and was like, "I can be here for 20 minutes, and then I have to go to a 3A game." And I was like, "Don't worry, you're going to see 3 touchdowns in them." And then it was 6-0
Saw him in
at the end of the first quarter. And I was like, "I'm sorry, man, I let you down."
Elsewhere in the 1Bs, Nia Bay beat Liberty Christian 52-20, and number 1 Liberty Bell beat Welpinit 76-14. Wait, what round of the tournament are we in? What's going on here?
That was the quarterfinals.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was misunderstanding how brackets work.
Nia Bay plays Liberty Bell in the semis.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 1 Liberty Bell. All right, cool. You guys got any takes on those?
Liberty Bell is apparently doing the Winlock thing where they asked to reclassify just for football, and they're also really good, which,
All right. This podcast brought to you by Amicable Heating and Cooling. Give their 24/7 emergency service line a call at 360-948-2355 if you are either too hot or too cold and it's after hours.
We needed them in Tenino because it was too damn cold at Tenino on Saturday night.
They could have helped you out because your comfort is their business. They offer full-service HVAC installation, services, and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee on everything they do.
Just like us.
Visit them at west.americoolonline.com to learn more and request services. We don't have anything else really, except some college in Seattle. Haven't heard of them. Is apparently 11-0, and Josh is fired up about it.
I missed the entire game, but it apparently went well.
It was okay. I'm naturally a pessimist, but I was sitting there. I was telling Josh this before we started, and when Oregon State got within 2, and I think UW punted the ball back, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my dad, and I'm like, if they beat Oregon again, they really don't have to win this game. I was kind of already like trying to gaslight myself into thinking that it didn't matter. Obviously, none of that ended up mattering.
Anyway,
Josh murdered you on the spot. If UW wins, who plays in the championships this year are in Seattle?
Yeah,
at UW.
That's
cool.
that was the point. It was just a segue to get into winners Saturday in the semifinals play at Husky Stadium, which is a little bit better than Harry Lang. I know you're sad that you don't get to go to Lakewood again.
Buddy, hi.
Or Sparks Stadium.
I never went to Sparks Stadium.
Shout out Sparks Stadium.
Where is Sparks Stadium? What's that? What's their deal?
That's where the 3
Puyallup.
is. Yeah, it was like 20 minutes away. I did the 3A game there last year.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of being in Puyallup and Lakewood and Tahoma, they're going to be at Husky Stadium this year, and it's going to be a whole lot more fun to talk to players who win this week and be like, "Yeah, you're actually going to play somewhere cool. How does that feel?" And
like the big city.
Yeah, did you guys ever play the old NCAA football games?
Yeah, when
you would do a career mode, the high school championship was always in that colleges.
Yep. I just think it's cool, and I'm excited. I'm excited to cover it because it's a cool area, like a cool setting, the greatest setting, some say.
If Napavine, either one, which team, Napavine or Onalaska, is more likely to engage in sailgating prior to the finals?
I gotta get Maz on a boat.
Yeah,
So.
Maz and Wayne together, just like on a little boat in Lake Washington.
Just getting towed on tubes behind like the crew team into the stadium.
That was the thing Maz was saying, like their motto is keep digging, and they got their shovel, but you think you could change that to like keep rowing?
Yeah.
Just for the week, yeah.
You could have some like crew teams like drag Faye and Wilson in and Faye the whole time. It's just like not that impressive.
Is it PJ
we got a
Fleck,
stadium
row the
too.
boat?
Row the boat, yeah.
Also, this is random, but for some reason we were talking about him before the show. Josh, I want your live reaction. Joe Flacco has signed with the Browns.
Oh, wow. He's now the second best starting quarterback in the state of Ohio.
There was a lot of quality defenses looking for Joe Flacco to come lead a team.
And now his division is very happy.
Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco.
That's true.
But yeah, and we'll talk about it more next week. But it was less talking about UW. I just wanted to make you say that on air. But be able to go to having something on the line. I just feel like there's going to be a little bit more in the semifinals this week, having something along the lines of we're going to the Tacoma Dome, like that's been missing out of the state football environment.
And you can bring back those sick. They used to be cooler headlines when somebody make the news like, "Oh, Domeward Bound" and shit like that, or like
used to all be in the dome, right?
Yeah. So and they're going to split it over. So I want to say that the 1Bs are going to be on Friday, and the
Isn't it usually 1Bs, 3As, and then everybody else?
I think it's 1B, 1A, and 3A are Friday.
Friday, yeah.
And then 2B, 2A, and 4A are on Saturday.
Yeah, okay. So the evens and the odds or whatever. But yeah, that'll be fun. I really hope, and we've talked about this a little bit before, I really hope that, I know the Seahawks are sponsoring it, which is also cool. And
think they'll be there?
I bet they'll have at least some reps from representatives, and I hope they go all in on it. Like, I hope they actually open up the stadium and have like the scoreboard running and the sound system running.
Do you think after tonight they're going to send Jason Myers?
Maybe.
Make him represent the team there?
He can go and he can explain the concept of an extra point to the 8-man teams.
He gets one kick for each 1B team that's there.
Yeah. We'll just run it, thanks.
It's like a challenge flag, but it's just like a flag, and you throw it, and you get Jason Myers to kick your next field goal.
Follow Cronline Sports on Twitter at Cronline Sports and at The Chronicle Sports on Instagram.
It's sad that Cody isn't here because he was gonna get to throw Dylan through a table. Because
they cracked 100 or cracked 1,000. What are they at, like 1,060 now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Cody doing great work.
He missed his window. Dylan, would you like to jump through this table?
I want to do it when Cody's here.
It's gonna be too late when he gets back. Maybe we'll have to do it when we hit like 5,000 now. Sorry, Cody, you missed your chance. I hope
see all the sports photos at photos.cronline.com.
this was just something everybody asks. We usually get asked once or twice, like a game, like if people can buy the photos or see the photos. Yeah, we have a website. Go to it. It's cool.
Check it out. All right.
It's got 5,000 photos on it now, and it's running slow already.
There's a lot. All right. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week.